How does the fossil record fit into the Bible? This can be a mystery to many Christians, but did you know that the Bible explains the fossil record better than the evolutionary theory? The key to understanding the fossil record is Noah's flood. Before we review the events of Noah's flood, we need to remember the two main geologic processes associated with flooding: erosion and deposition of the sediment. And the greater the flooding, the greater the erosion and deposition. So, at the beginning of Noah's flood, as the fountains of the deep erupted and the 40 days and nights of rain came, this intense rainfall caused intense scouring of the earth, resulting in an enormous erosion worldwide. The rising waters began to deposit sediment in the low-lying coastal areas first, burying the less mobile water animals such as invertebrates like corals and trilobites, and even some marine animals like nautiloids. It's interesting that nautiloid fossils in the Redwall limestone in the Grand Canyon are found in a curious position that actually matches what the Bible says. You see, nautiloids in the Grand Canyon have cone-shaped shells, and these shells are found oriented in the same direction. How many nautiloids? It's estimated that there are around 1 billion of these sea creatures in the Redwall limestone. If the evolutionary story is correct, and these nautiloids lived in a calm, placid sea, these shells should be found in the fossil record oriented in random directions, as each animal died over the years. Instead, all the fossils are found oriented in a single direction in a single rock layer, as if something swept over them rapidly and killed them. What an incredible evidence for Noah's flood. You see, as the flood progressed, further onto the continents began to trap the less mobile animals that were unable to escape further inland, burying amphibians and insects and other underwater animals. Still, as the flood progressed further inland, animals like dinosaurs started feeling the effects of the flood. They fled the local high spots. However, these weren't safe havens for long. They became areas of last stands because the dinosaurs were eventually all overwhelmed by the rising floodwaters. As interesting as this sounds, do we have any scientific evidence of this? Absolutely. One of the largest dinosaur graveyards in the world is in Alberta, Canada, near Brooks. It's documented that around 10,000 horned dinosaurs called centrosauruses are buried there. What is the official cause of death? Evolutionary scientists even admit that these dinosaurs all drowned to death. And further south in the Lance Formation in eastern Wyoming, there is yet another dinosaur fossil graveyard. In the Hansen Ranch bone bed, there is an estimated 10,000 to 25,000 individual dinosaurs buried by water. The interesting part is that this massive bone bed exhibits normal grading, with larger bones like femurs found concentrated at the bottom of the layer and the bone sizes fine upwards, with smaller bones like vertebrae found at the top. It also appears that the bones are oriented in an easterly direction. This is diagnostic of a water depositional environment. This means that this massive layer was deposited by a single watery catastrophic event, much like what happened at Noah's flood. I've only described 2 dinosaur graveyards, but there are many, many more, such as the Morrison Formation that has been traced over an area of 1.5 million square kilometers, covering 13 US states and 3 Canadian provinces. These are all in one massive area, as we would expect if Noah's flood is real. Back to the fossil record, in the final days of the flood, the remaining animals, including mammals and birds, have now retreated to the highest points. But according to the Bible, all the high places under the entire heavens were covered, and they died. According to the Bible, this took place over 150 days, for the water to prevail over the entire earth. One more interesting detail is the prevalence of marine or underwater fossils found throughout the entire record. If we look at fish fossils, they reveal another truth related to Noah's flood. If you've ever owned a goldfish or any other pet fish, you might be surprised to know that you are already an expert. Let me explain. If you look at some museum displays or scientific articles about fish fossilization, you'll see that they contradict what we observe in nature. We all know what happens when a fish dies. It floats upside down on top of the fish bowl. Why does it do this? because of the decaying gases that they build up in their guts. So afterwards, are fishes allowed to float peacefully to the bottom of the seafloor after they die? No. Most likely scavengers get to the fish and start eating it, ripping it apart, bones and all. But what if, on the off chance, no scavengers find the fish corpse? Will it then be allowed to float peaceably to the seafloor to be buried? Still no. The internal gases will eventually cause the fish to explode, tearing it apart. Crazy, eh? Okay, but eventually the fish will sink to the seafloor and be allowed to be peacefully buried, right? Once again, no. Scavengers, even in the deep sea like starfish, crabs, and a variety of worms, will come and consume the remainder of the corpse. Even the bones with the marrow get consumed by these scavengers, leaving nothing behind. With this in mind, why are there so many intact fish fossils today, with all the fish bones and parts in place? In the Green River Formation alone, there is an estimated 1 million fish fossils buried, with the significant portion found fully intact or articulated. This is not consistent with the evolutionary story that these fish, and even dinosaurs, peacefully sank to the bottom of a tranquil and placid sea. Rather, this is evidence of a catastrophic and rapid burial, just as expected from Noah's flood. Suddenly, even the smallest details of the fossil record, with different ecosystems buried in different layers, fossils oriented in one direction, and fish fossils found throughout every layer makes perfect sense. It's exactly what we would expect as the result of the global catastrophic flood described in Genesis.